Welcome to a video about probably one of the coolest E36 race cars I think I have ever seen. And I am proud to say that this is my vehicle that is here in the United States. I purchased it in Finland, sight unseen, about a year ago. Drove it around Europe about 8,000 kilometers, hit the Nordschleife and Spa, and then went to the Austrian Alps and many more places. And I want to share the story of how I acquired this vehicle with you today. Then I want to walk around it and just show you kind of some of the things, because there is so much to do with the build of this vehicle that I am not going to be able to give it any justice. There is another video that Henry Atakowski, which is the builder of this and the previous owner, we did that in the bottom of a BMW museum in Munich. We actually spoke back and forth and kind of went over the car in some detail, because basically this thing took Henry as his personal car and passion project about 2 years, and I think a total of about 3,800 man hours to make this thing as you see it today. So this is a very, very extensive race car build, and it is perfect in my eyes, as you'll see when I explain to you why I acquired it and how I acquired it, because it was just an epic story. And then, yeah, I want to basically talk you through it, and then we're going to go for a drive and determine how amazing it is, because I think it is probably one of the coolest cars in the world as far as a custom, specifically built, purpose-built car, because there are obviously really cool cars out there, but there are very few cars that are this special and have this much love and passion put into them. And this is why I really want to share this vehicle with you today. So first of all, let's go ahead and explain how I acquired this vehicle. And I'm going to try to make this as short as I can, because it's a very long story. I do have pretty deeply extensive videos of this entire journey, but I'm going to try to sum it all up here in a quick minute or two. So basically, about a year ago in December of 2023, I saw this car pop up on Facebook Marketplace, as one does. Somehow in Finland, it popped up on the E36 race car group that I follow on Facebook. A guy named Henry Atakowski was selling it. This was his personal passion project that he had built over the previous 2 years. And he was ready to move on and do something else. And yeah, I messaged him basically just wanting to tell him that I was admiring and drooling over this thing, and I had no intentions of buying it, but I just wanted to let him know it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I had only seen about 6 pictures of it at this point. No videos, just 6 still shots. Could have been doctored, really awesomely edited photos. So anyways, I thought it was the coolest build ever. We ended up hitting it off, kind of becoming a little bit of friends, going back and forth. Over the next couple weeks, he ended up sending me a bunch of build videos and photos, because he has like 30,000 photos of this car on his phone. And I fell in love with it. I started going back and forth with him, thinking a little bit more seriously about purchasing it. So I offered him amount of money that I was comfortable buying a car sight unseen, especially a race car with a custom motorsport wiring harness, full fuel cell, fully built S54. Like, this thing is insane, and it's extremely modified. And again, like, I gave him a number that I was comfortable spending for buying a car modified to this extent, sight unseen, in a foreign country, especially considering I was going to have to accrue the cost of shipping it here to the United States and then title and tagging it. Ultimately, I was just like, this is the number I'm comfortable with. So I threw it at him. A couple days later, he ended up countering me. I said, that's like a little too much. I don't want to spend that much, but, if you're serious, then, let's meet in the middle. Literally 2 months goes by. I figured the car is gone at this point. Henry and I had still maintained contact. He said he had a few other buyers, but no one was serious, and we had just stayed in contact. I ended up buying a 991.2 GT3 RS, because that was the next car on my list for things that I wanted to buy. I bought that car. I took it to Smoky GT's 24. We ended up having a great time there, me and my girlfriend. And on this trip, after I had just bought this car, maybe about a month before, literally, $250,000 car, and Henry hits me up and he's like, hey man, I know we haven't spoken in a minute, but I think I'm ready to let go of the car at the price that we talked about. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if this is a sign that I need it, or this is a sign that this is the worst timing in the world. But ultimately, my girlfriend and I kind of went over it, and she's like, it's a sign, you need it. Let's just do it. So I ended up buying this car. I literally wired him the cash like a few weeks later, intending on him ended up shipping it to me without me going over and looking at it, which was like, I was okay with at this point. And then I realized that, you know what? I should probably go to Europe, pick this car up, and drive it, because I've been wanting to go to the Nordschleife for literally 20 years. Never been. I've been to Germany many times, but I'd never been to the Nordschleife before. I've never done any European tracks. So I looked up some track days, actually looked at Spa as well. I found a track day at Spa, and I realized that I could just take it on the tourist drives at the Nordschleife. So I was like, all right, well, let's book our trip based around this Spa track day. So that was about a month later. So I was out whatever amount of money that I ended up purchasing the car for a month to a stranger. Luckily, Henry is the most amazing person in the world, and it was just the coolest experience. But obviously, you know, most people would probably be like a little bit scared that they've sent a bunch of money over to a European country and then, you know, they don't have anything to show for it, and then they're supposed to go get something in a month from now. So ultimately I ended up flying over with my girlfriend to Finland. We went to Vantaa, which is where Henry is from, and met up with him and his brother and his family, and a couple of his friends actually showed up. We were only there for a couple hours because I had to get a ferry and we missed our flight getting to Finland originally. So we literally hopped in the car. Henry escorted us in his van to the docks. We got on the ferry, took a ferry over to Stockholm, Sweden, got it there the next day. And over the next couple days, we drove from Stockholm down to Hamburg. And Henry actually offered to meet up with us and be a support vehicle for the rest of our journey, which was going to Spa and the Ring and Stuttgart and Munich and Austria, and then back to Stuttgart and then back to Amsterdam where the car was going to be shipped off. So Henry met us in Hamburg. We stayed together in an Airbnb. We went to Spa the next couple days, did a track day there. The car performed amazingly, and my girlfriend and I are driving this car the entire time. We ended up putting about 8,000 kilometers on it over the course of about 25 days of just driving this car with no AC, no sound deadening. We do have Rally Stilo race comms, but that's about it. And then, yeah, just full race car, not geared for driving on the highway. It's got a ZF 5-speed, which we'll go over in a little bit, and a 391 rear end. So this thing is screaming at about 45 to 5,000 RPM on the highway at about 70 miles an hour. And we were driving on the Autobahn and doing some absurd things all the way across Europe. Then we go from Spa to the Nordschleife, spend a few days there. I got to drive on the green hell with this. Ended up doing a 743 bridge to gantry, having never driven the Nordschleife before, except for on a simulator. And that just kind of shows how well this car performs, in a sense of it weighs 2,600 pounds and makes about 400 horsepower. So it is phenomenal. As we'll go over here in a little bit, I keep basically spilling the beans of how cool this car is. But yeah, so then we went from there to Stuttgart, hit this Porsche museum. Then we went to Munich and we went to the BMW museum. And there's actually a video of Henry and I in the basement of the BMW museum going over a lot of details of the build with him in person, because obviously he knows way more about the car than I do. And then he left. We actually split apart at that point. Him and Mika, which was his friend, went back to Finland, and my girlfriend and I, Kelsey, ended up going to Seelamzi and going to a fat ice race event. And then we went back to Austria and met up with a friend of mine, Trappy. And then we went back to the Nordschleife. On our way to Amsterdam, I got to do some more track day or some more tourist drives. And then the alternator died because of just so much cruising on the highway at high RPMs. I changed it at 24/7 performance. All of this stuff is documented on this YouTube channel. It just doesn't have as many views as maybe some of my other car videos. And then we dropped it off in in Amsterdam, and a friend of mine, Evo, shipped this car back. It took about a month. It was a drive-on, drive-off scenario where the car was actually just driven onto a boat, like a production car, say a Porsche or a BMW. They just drive them onto these boats, and then they drive them off in Brunswick, Georgia, or wherever they're going in the United States. And then a friend of mine picked it up, a guy named Reed, and another friend of mine. So yeah, this is a very amazing vehicle, the story of how it came here to America, and then it was titled and tagged and is fully street legal here. So Jay and Reed, thank you so much, and Evo for helping me get the car here and helping me tag it, because it is awesome to be able to drive this thing on the street. But since then, I've owned it for a year. I've driven it on Road Atlanta and Atlanta Motorsports Park, and I've driven it to the Vintage, which was an event up here in Asheville, North Carolina. Sorry, I'm just literally thinking of this stuff off the top of my head, and I've done many events in this car, and it has just been a dream to have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the walk around, and I'll share with you as much as I can aesthetically and audibly about what I know about the car, which isn't very much. And then we're going to go for a drive and just see how the experience of driving this thing is, as much as I can convey through a screen. So thank you so much, and let's go ahead and get into the walkthrough. All right, I'm going to give you guys a nice walk around the car so you can get an idea of what we're dealing with here externally. This is Laguna Seca blue. It is ever so slightly different than the original Laguna Seca blue, but it could just be that most E46s that I'm used to seeing in Laguna are 20 years old and the paint is just not that great anymore, and this is fresh. But I do think there is a slight tint difference, and I actually prefer this over Laguna Seca, which is pretty hilarious because that's such an iconic color, but this thing just pops. Now, Henry got this car. It's a 1994 BMW M3, and it was originally purchased in Spain, and it ended up in Finland. He bought the car essentially stock about 3 years ago, had it for like a month, and then stripped it down to the chassis and rebuilt every single thing. And yeah, it took him about 2 years and about 3,800 hours, and who knows how much money to do this. And it is the sickest passion project I think I've ever seen, like I said. And let's go ahead and start diving into some of the details. So, without further ado, we have E46 metal over fenders welded into a non-M E36 fender here. We've got all custom trim pieces here because obviously when you start grafting in metal fenders, you have to make these custom pieces because they're just not designed for that. We've got M3 mirrors, we've got a carbon fiber sunroof delete, we have Motorsport windshield, which has got heating elements in it. So this is thinner than the factory windshield. There are heating elements running all through it. You can turn them on via the internal little button switch situation, which we'll go over here in a little bit. It's got working windshield wipers, which is kind of crazy for a race car, but as you'll see, this car is like race car, but also very usable in a sense of like you can still drive it on the street within reason. It's like usable enough, has the right amount of amenities. We've got full carbon doors on both sides with Lexan windows all around. I'll just show you the carbon door real quick as we're walking around. This thing weighs nothing and can be taken off in a matter of seconds. Full cage. We're going to get to the interior in a second, but I just wanted to tease you with the carbon doors. I don't know if these are M side skirts, but whatever they are, they look amazing. I'm not as versed in the E36 world as I am with E46s. We've got E46 over fenders grafted into the rear quarter panel. Again, these are metal with custom trim pieces. We've got the factory deck lid that came on this car. He kind of kept true and said he wanted to keep the original wing and the original deck lid because the fitment of aftermarket deck lids just wasn't as good as he wanted. Like I said, we've got Lexan rear windows here. These actually still pop in and out like they did from the factory, which I think is super cool because you get a little bit of ventilation in the car, and they don't fall off at 170 miles an hour. Well, 157 I think is the top speed with the gearing as it is right now. But yeah, we'll talk about that when we get in the inside. Let's go ahead and walk around the back here, and then we'll start talking about the wheels and the brake setup and the suspension. So as I said, factory wing, factory deck lid. We've got this little rain light down here with a full custom exhaust that's like got the most epic heat wrap situation on it. And as clean as the car is on top, it is even cleaner underneath. Everything is perfect. It is insane. All the little details that I just can't convey to you in the video visually, but I'm trying to. And as you see, it's titled here in Georgia because this car is over 25 years old. And yeah, in Georgia, pretty much if it's 25 years old and it rolls, you can title it and put it on the street. Look at this little detail. Gas door, molded in over fender, just really, really cool. That is not where the gas tank is, by the way. It's somewhere else, and we're going to get to that in a second. We got still rocking 5-lug. We'll go to the other side where we can see a little bit more of the wheel and the brake setup, but I did want to go over the front end. So full carbon hood with vents, aero catches holding it, glass headlights with the French factory yellow lenses, which is super awesome. You've got a M3 front bumper here with a splitter and the lightweight little valances down here. You've got all this awesome like ducting that goes to the brakes. You've got a duct for the intake manifold, or the intake over there. You've got these quick releases that you can just push that one on the other side. The front bumper comes off, and then this whole splitter drops off with 4 cotter pins in, like, literally you could pull the whole front bumper and the whole front end in less than a minute. It's the craziest thing. Everything about this car is like meant to be used and worked on, and it is easy. Everything is paint marked. Everything is torqued to spec. It is insane. I can't explain to you how insane this thing is. It's 10 times as insane as I thought it was when I saw it on the internet after I had seen 300 or 400 pictures of it. It's got a wood plate on the bottom of the splitter to just help with the wear and tear of that carbon splitter. And let's go ahead and look at the brakes and the wheels. So we got AP Pro 5000Rs. I think these are 355 millimeter rotors, 2-piece J-hook, as you can see. These are actually 12 mil studs, or 14 mil, I think. Yeah, they're 2 mil bigger than the factory bolts are. And these are from an Evo, like a Lancer Evo. So I think it's an Evo 9 or something like that. And he likes to use these copper nuts, and he's probably killing himself right now because I got that wrong exactly where. And again, this is just me remembering stuff off the top of my head. We've got Potenza RE71 RSs on 18x9, and these are 255 35 18s, just because a 275 or a 265 will fit in a normal tire, but for whatever reason RE71 RSs are way wider than normal, so this is a 255. And yeah, when I was running at the ring on the Durezas, I had Dureza 3s, I think. Those were 265 square. And this has inner fender liners that are custom, so that you're not like slinging rocks up into the engine bay, which we'll see here in a second is phenomenally well put together. Now, the rear brake setup and the suspension setup, everything is monoball. You got a 2-pot rear brake setup, and I think it's just a factory rear M3 rotor, not anything super special, but it does have a sway bar, and like I said, all the suspension is fully adjustable and monoball. And this thing's set up just like my E36 M3 for the most part. You got about 3.5 degrees of camber in the front, about 2.5 in the rear, tiny bit of toe in the rear, tiny bit of toe out in the front. I think about 6 degrees of caster in the front. And yeah, let's get into some of the performance stuff. So let's pop the hood. This is a full carbon hood with aero catches, like I said. And this is our built S54 here. So this thing is as clean and it runs as good as it looks. So let's just like look at some of these details. We got kill switches, we got fire suppression over there, easily accessible from the outside of the car, full motorsport wiring harness. I don't even know what these coil packs are, but they're not factory. Radium fuel rail, insane carbon air box, I'm sure some European company that I've never heard of. HA Race Tech is Henrietta Koski, which again is the builder of this car. We got fire suppression on the firewall over there. We've got a little breather for the transmission so that it doesn't puke out any fluid. We've got a master cylinder from I think a Z4. We got MK60 ABS. We got a little dipstick there. Little booster bias valve over there. You can literally adjust the brake booster. You got laser cut gussets for the strut towers, and you can see that the cage is integrated into the strut towers. This little carbon, or not carbon, but the 3D printed little intake snorkel hole thing there. And the only thing that's not original is that alternator. Like I said, I had to change the alternator. He said the alternator was from the original engine. Everything else has been replaced, but the alternator had been was the original thing. Catch can that has a rag over it because when you're really romping on it, it likes to spew a little tiny bit of mist of oil out, and it just, you know, kind of annoying. So I just slap a rag over it and it kills the problem. It's not a permanent fix, just something that I did the last track day about 5 months ago. Giant radiator with some fans, some big electric fans on there. Just the attention to detail under the hood is insane. Even the strut to hold the hood up, it's in the passenger seat. I'll have to show it to you, but basically it hooks in here and then hooks in through one of the aero catches, and you lock it down so that the hood can't fly away because the hood is so light. And I'm sure there's a reason behind that, because I'm sure the hood had flown away at one point in the past and Henry decided that would never happen again. So let's go ahead and start looking around. Let me show you the trunk before we get to the inside, because the trunk is going to be a cool little visual, and then we'll hop on the inside and I'll show you what's going on. So pop the trunk here. This is where the fuel cell is. And the battery. And yeah, when I took this thing across Europe, this thing was full of bags. Just full of bags, just laying on the fuel cell, doing dumb shit. Oh my God, it was the most insane trip I think I've ever done, and I hope to do a more insane trip at some point. So that's the trunk, like I said, with the fuel cell. Ow, that was a little harder than I wanted it to close, but not terrible. let's go on the inside. I'm just gonna show you a little bit from the outside. Like I said, carbon doors, Lexan windows, got a little slider here. Little ventilation in the car. Straps here. I put these on to actually hold some of documents when I kept getting pulled over in Germany. Even inside the door, there's a carbon plate to cover a hole that would normally be there, but Henry is a madman and he covered that thing up. So flocked fiberglass dash. No idea what kind of little dash situation that is. Again, all of the stuff Henry did, I don't remember all the details. I'm just showing you it. All the buttons work. Quick release. Obviously, carbon footwells. Got a Turner clutch pedal there. Little foot bracket. Make sure your foot doesn't slip too far over to the right on the gas pedal. Look at this cage. It's an AST cage. I put this rearview mirror in because it had like a camera rearview mirror, and I wasn't a fan of it. But I understand why he put it in there, because with that rear deck lid back there being painted Laguna Seca, it gets pretty poppy in the sun. We got fire suppression back here. Carbon covers for the rear quarters. All the wiring is like super nice and tucked. He actually has 2 carbon Kevlar Recaros. One of them is a halo seat, but those are illegal to drive on the streets in Germany. So we ended up putting in a Sparco Pro 2000, I think, or no, an Evo, just because it was like a cheap seat, and I shipped the halo home. So, but my girlfriend loves that seat, so she rides in the car more than anybody else. And that other seat that has the halo is like meant for people that are 110 pounds like myself, and basically no one else can drive the car. So I put the original passenger seat as the driver. And it is super rigid, which is crazy because it's carbon Kevlar and it weighs nothing. We got Schroth 6 points, got a little Sparco lumbar pad there, CAE shifter, the e-brake still works. Obviously, you got fire suppression right there. I've got a little phone holder, little fire suppression nozzle there. Here's the little command center where you can adjust all the things you need to adjust in the car. This thing has a blower in it, so you don't technically need AC. Well, you do if it's really hot, but you'll see. You can drive it as long as it's under about 80 degrees. It's pretty bearable. All the like gussets and holes and things cut in it for lightweight. The actual inside of the bumper, there's a crash bar, and it has all of these dimple dies cut in it to lighten the bumper bar. This thing weighs 2,600 pounds, like I said. And it makes about 400 PS. It's probably about 350 wheel, really. It's a stock S54, but fully rebuilt with forged bottom end and tuned on a Link ECU. So let's get in this thing and go for a drive, and I'll show you guys kind of what it's all about, because it is a phenomenal piece of machinery. Alright guys, driving the E36 M3 race car on the streets. Obviously it's loud. I've got these rally comms here, they do have noise canceling or keeping some of that noise at bay, but in reality this is a full-on race car with, and I don't have a cool suit on or anything. It's pretty hot in here, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sweating. I'm probably gonna need a shower here in a little bit. But I wanted to share with you the driving experience of this thing because it is so visceral. Everything is solid mounted. Everything is monoball as far as suspension is concerned. It weighs nothing. The flywheel weighs nothing. The gearbox is tight. The gearing is short. I'm in second gear, 4,000 RPM, doing 40 miles an hour, or 40 kilometers an hour rather. So that was kind of the downside of this car driving through Europe, was the fact that it's geared so short. It's like meant to basically do 150 miles an hour, and that's it at the top of fifth gear at 8,500 RPM. So when you're cruising around, like I'm at 2,500 RPM in fourth gear right now. I got one more gear on top of this, and I'm doing 38 miles an hour, or 60 kilometers an hour. But that's not what this car is about. This car is about hoonigan action, okay? It weighs nothing. It makes all the power. You got instant torque. The car, it just is alive. And I want to just kind of be quiet for a minute and drive this thing and let you guys listen, because it just brings a smile to my face. This thing is it's a riot. It's honestly kind of hard to drive. It's not hard to drive slow, but it wants to be beaten. If you drive it like mild-mannered, sometimes it gets angry with you, which is inherent of a race car. They don't like to be driven slow, they're meant to be driven fast. So when you're driving it on the street, now, yes, this thing goes fast in a straight line. It pulls on freaking Camaros with weight reduction on track. Like, it has very little power in consideration. However, because it weighs so little, it's so nimble. It just changes direction in the most insane way. The only thing I can even compare it to, I've driven an Ariel Atom 4, which has got the new Type R turbo 2-liter in it. And it weighed about 1,500 pounds, made about 360 a wheel. Yes, it's not as savage as that as far as like overall acceleration, but the way that this car changes direction is very similar to that. Actually it's even better in a sense because it has a longer wheelbase, so you end up like playing with it and it's like just dancing. You're just having this little nimble, lightweight dance partner that knows everything you want it to do. It just reads your mind, does everything you could ever think about. It's pretty sharp in a sense of like when it does start to slide, it wants to hook up. So you got to be like on your toes when you're getting after it, especially if you're getting a little slidey. First gear can be kind of useless because the gearing is so short, but I love these ZF gearboxes. They just shift flawlessly. I understand why so many people use them as the go-to gearbox for most builds these days. Figured we'd have some fun going home because I actually am running late. I gotta get on a flight tonight and head to Pittsburgh for a job. And I need to leave in 14 minutes. But I'm gonna be gone for a week, so I wanted to get this video out. There's only so much we can do on the streets of this thing. I'll have to take it on track and really hoonigan it around for you, but I did want to share with you a little bit of the experience of driving this phenomenal beast. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was informative. If you have any questions about the car, obviously I'm sure there's going to be a lot, but you can always put them in the comment section and I'll try to do my best to help you understand what this thing's all about. And if you have any requests for me to do with this car, driving it on particular tracks, I don't know, taking it to certain car events so people can see it in person, I would love to do such a thing. I am in the southeastern United States, so please keep it within reason. I don't currently own a trailer, so yes. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. that's not going away.